Welcome back, I'm Captain Xavier, and I've remembered to turn on the camera again. What I'm working on here is the stern section. I made some significant changes to the midsection. I ended up raising it by 2 plates in order to increase the height of these 2 decks and to raise the gun ports so that I could actually put wheels on the cannon. Because it looks much better when they have wheels like they're supposed to. So, in order to raise the gun ports so that I could raise the cannons enough to put wheels, I had to raise everything up by 2 plates. And doing that on the midsection was really simple, because there isn't any of this nonsense to deal with. But on this one, it's going to be, it could potentially be more complicated. But the other good thing is it may allow me to then increase the ceiling height back here in the captain's quarters and the officer's mess, which will look a lot nicer. So we're going to see. I'm also going to be tearing this apart so that I can add the full supports. So I've got the ribbing on the outside, but I don't have the inner supports, which help support the gun deck much better. I'm also going to probably work on solidifying the connection between them, and if I decide to get really ambitious, and this will be something that I will see, I may try to make it so that the ship's wheel does in fact make the rudder turn. Now the ship's wheel on a ship of the line is mounted right here, and part of the issue is that the wheel is taller than the deck is, so I might have to raise this up a little bit more, which that would not be terribly difficult, but try to get the ship's wheel to actually make the rudder turn, which shouldn't be too difficult. We'll see. These things were definitely not designed for doing it properly. Both the First Imperial flagship and the Skull's Eye schooner had rudders that worked using the wheel, but they just had a mechanical connection that went down and then moved the thing. But I have way too much deck to go through to want to do it that way, and so what I would probably end up doing is actually running a line down and then having it go out and then back in, and so when you turned it, it pulled the lever one way or the other. We will see how I feel about trying to do that once I get into it. So, yeah, gonna be tearing this thing down to the water line, which I've already done that several times. I think recently I tried adding a staircase all the way down, and then I realized that that's not actually where the staircase is supposed to go, so I switched it to having the 2 side staircases and then put the staircase somewhere else, and then moved that, and then redid that. Prototyping takes a long time. I finally found some really good cross-sections of ships of the line that have allowed me to figure out where things are supposed to go, and I actually did the math to figure out like how long is this supposed to be compared to how long is this, compared to the open waist, compared to the foredeck. Made a couple of changes, nothing major, it was like 2 studs here, 2 studs here, but it did make things look more proportional, did give me room to do additional things. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be working on today, is getting the full supports, raising the whole thing up by at least 2 plates and probably even more up here, and trying to make the wheel work. That is going to be exciting. So here we go. Fortunately, we have a short section here that disconnects from both the midsection and the rest of the stern, and so I can easily show you how I'm doing this to raise it all by 1 plate. So I'm replacing what was originally 2 plates stuck together with a brick. That's the first raise, and then I'm going to add another plate of dark red right below the first slope, which fixes a number of things. One, this section of the gun port that's kind of sticking out there, it'll get made more flush. So it fixed a number of problems. So that's where the plates are going, and then it kind of results in, like, all of the support sections need to then get raised by a plate, and this will need to get raised by a plate in here, and then it just kind of forces everything up slightly. And from there, we're good to go, unless I decide to add stuff onto this top one, but that'll just get added at that level rather than having to come from all the way down here. The reason it has to come from all the way at the bottom is that I don't want to have plates in between the slopes. I originally looked at that idea in order to raise the deck heights, and I really didn't like it because it added too much of a stair-step stagger look, and I really liked the smooth transition of those slopes. So here we go. Next, we will be adding more plates. So that really is the crux of it. There's an extra plate of black because I replaced 2 plates with a brick, and then there's an extra plate of the dark red, and that's really all the main part of it. Now all of the supports also need to get increased by 2 plates. So there's one on the bottom, which is going to increase the height of this lower deck, and then there's one towards the top, which is what's going to end up increasing the level of the upper deck, oddly enough. So that's going to go there, and then we're going to add our ribbing and or the additional supports. So now we're going to start having to disassemble more of this as we go up in order to get the supports and whatnot in place. And there it is, retrofit with supports and raised by 1 plate per deck. Much more solid. It is just, it is so stout, and I love that. And I love that the details, the interior details are coming together. I mean, really nice. A friend of mine that I showed it to pointed out that adding these definitely makes it seem more claustrophobic inside, which is definitely more accurate. There was not a whole lot of room, even on these big ships. It also now gives me places that I can try to hang hammocks from if I can figure out how to create Lego hammocks. Give me time. Now we start getting into the tricky part. I really don't know what's gonna happen when I try to do this raise in all of this. How much of this is gonna have to get shifted and tweaked, and it's gonna be interesting. This section should be easy. The gallery is gonna be tricky. Right, after almost 4 hours, I've gotten all of that done. It was a brutal slog. But there is now more ceiling room in the captain's quarters and more ceiling room in the officer's mess, and it's much, much nicer. It's also all far, far more solid, and there is still one bit I need to finish here, and it's going to be a little bit more complicated. I have successfully added the lever that works the rudder. So there is now a functioning rudder. I just need to run the lines up to the wheel that'll be right here, and I will in fact then have a wheel that operates the rudder, and I am looking forward to that. But I need to take a break because that was a long slog. Thing is, you really can't notice any difference from all of that work that I just spent hours doing. Cosmetically made very little difference, honestly, because the whole thing's only, you know, that much taller, 2 plates taller. But I did a lot of stuff structurally. Cleaned up a lot of things back here that were still kind of in their early prototype stage. The deck is much, much stronger than it was before. There were spots where if you push down, it just caves straight through. That's all been cleaned up. Part of the reason some of those were so weak was they were built before I had the right parts. And, you know, that was all, again, in that prototype phase. You know, I started building things and then figured out what I still needed and then ordered the parts and then just hadn't gone back through and updated everything. But now everything is updated. We can put this back on. I believe it goes right there. So I need... Nope, not you. You. Leave off. Has been moved forward 1 stud for reasons. Yep, excellent. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Beautiful. I am well pleased with it. I'm looking forward to working on that wheel, getting it functioning, and then, of course, I still need to do the bow section. It still needs to get raised, and that is going to be... It might not be as difficult because it doesn't have that weird gallery, which is... This one is on the same level as this deck. This one's a little bit lower than the actual deck, which is why it got all weird trying to get things to line up. Here it should all still be on the same levels, and it might actually allow me to get things lined up where they currently aren't lined up and make things a little bit better. That area definitely needs more structural integrity, so I'm looking forward to tearing that down and rebuilding it, possibly figuring out how to make the bowsprit better. Let's pop this off so you can see. I don't like this solution that I have here for holding it in place. I would rather have it actually going down into the hull, and I would need to use different plates than what I've got right here to be able to do that, and I may or may not have something that'll work now. I'm not sure I did before. I'm not sure I do now. We'll find out. And I might be able to make that a little bit better. Yeah, but that'll have to wait until after I go take a good long break, get some fluids, maybe a snack, and check my work computer. Anyway, that's where I'm going to leave off for this video. So, hope you enjoyed watching me tear this thing down and build it all the way back up. And thank you guys for watching.